and welcome to 11.2, Personal Loans and Simple Interest. Let's look at some selected problem sets. So problem set 1, you have a friend who borrows $3,400 for a car repair. From the friend's credit union, he can obtain a 30-month loan with an annual simple interest rate of 4.6%. Calculate the simple interest she is charged on the loan. Additionally, determine the amount principal plus interest your friend will pay the credit union at the end of the 30 months to pay off her loan. So let's get started. Okay, so first I'd like to go through and recognize what's going on. So the principal is going to be the amount she's borrowing, or $3,400. The rate is going to be 4.6%, and you're really going to want to write this as a decimal so that way you can work with it easier. So it's going to be 0.046, and the time is going to be 30 months. Now to work with time, you're going to want to divide that 30 by 12 because there's 12 months in a year, and you're going to take it out for a total of 30, and that's going to equal a time of 2.5. Okay, now that you have your variables laid out pretty easily, you can now work with the simple interest. And if you refer back to the notes or the book, simple interest has the formula of I equals P times R times T. And if you look, we have all of these outlined right up here. So we're going to have I equals BP, which is 34,000, times the rate, which is 0.046, times the time, which is 2.5. And whenever you simplify that in your calculator, you get I equals, remember this is in dollars, 391. And that means that that's how much interest is going to be paid on that loan of $3,400. Okay, now to look at the amount to repay. We have the formula A is the amount equals the principal P plus the interest I. So that means A is going to equal the principal that we were working with, which was $3,400, plus the interest that we just found in the first part, which was 391. And when we simplify that, we're going to have A equals that your friend is going to have to pay back $3,791 for her loan. These are really practical and really life-like things that could happen. Looking at 2, you have Bob agrees to lend $1,000 to Marvin for some home improvement projects. 8 months later, Marvin repays the original $1,000 plus $95 interest. What annual rate of interest did Marvin repay to Bob? So let's just go through like we did before. And we're going to list the interest, which we see is $95. We can gather the principal, or the amount that was actually borrowed was $1,000. We see that the rate, well, we have no idea what the rate is. In fact, that's what we're asked to find, the annual rate. But we know the time. We saw that this loan was out for 8 months. But remember, when we're dealing with time, we have to divide it by 12 to refer to a year's time. When we do that, we're going to get, we divide 8 by 12, we get 0.67. Okay, so now we're able to easily use our formula of I equals P times R times T. And we're going to be solving for r in this case because that is what we do not know. Well, we know that the interest was $95 equals the principal of $1,000 times the rate, which was what we're looking for, times the time, which was 0.67. Let's bring the 1,000 and 0.67 together with multiplication, which is going to be 670, and then we just have our r. So we're solving for r in this case, so let's divide the 670 on both sides of the equation. That will free r of its placement. So it has r equals 95 divided by 670, which is 0.14. And that's a decimal, but remember we're talking about rates. It's originally given us as percents because that's how we're easily able to perceive what that means. What that means is that the interest was for 14%. All we did was multiply by 100. So that means there was an annual interest of 14% on that loan. Okay, if we keep moving on, looking at our time, we're doing great. So we have Harriet took out $450 in loans using a 6% discount loan for a period of 2 months. Determine the interest she must pay to the bank on the date she received the loan, the net amount of the money she received from the bank, and the actual rate of interest for the loan. So we have a lot to find. Let's first just start off by listing our variables, which is the interest. We usually like to ask, and we are not sure. We do not know. That's what we're asked to find in the first part. Determine the interest she must pay to the bank on the date she receives the loan. So we do not know the interest. But we know the principal, the amount she wanted to borrow, which was the $450. We know the rate was 6%, and we want to write that as a decimal, so that's going to be 0.06. And finally we have time, and it says she borrowed this for 2 months, and we're referring to 2 months of the year, so we have to divide it by 12, and that's going to give us 0.17. Now let's look at this interest that she had to have. So interest is equal to P times R times time. Solving for the interest, let's plug in the principal of $450 times the rate of 0.06 times the time of 0.17. When we simplify using multiplication for that, we get that the interest had to be in dollars, and it was 4.59. So that answers the first part of the question. Looking at the second part, we had to determine the net amount of the money she receives from the bank. So the net amount is going to be the amount that she borrowed the principal, that's $450, subtracting the interest that she paid. So that's the interest of 4.59. When you subtract that, the net amount she borrowed was $445.41. Okay, and now we're actually looking for the actual rate of interest for the loan. Because she used a discount, we had to find out the original amount. So actual rate. Okay, so for that, let's use our formula of I equals P times R times T. We know our interest in this case is 4.59 equals the principal that we see is the net amount, which was $445.41, times the rate of R, that's what we're solving for because it's the actual rate, times time. Time did not change, so it's 0.17. So let's multiply these two numbers together. So we're going to have 4.59 equals 75.7197R. Now to get R by itself, to find the actual rate, let's divide both sides by the 75.7197. It's going to leave us with R equaling 0.0606. So that means we just have to multiply this 100 to get this to a percentage. That helps us better understand what we're talking about. And when we do that, we get 6.06% equaling R. And that's the actual rate of interest she paid. Okay, and the last problem that we're going to look at for this problem, for this video, is as follows.